Okay, now we are in the January. It's very active period in New York between 55 with beginning Maurice Engel's The Little Fugitive, which is like a low budget feature. Then Sidney Meyers, there are a lot of other people that come in. And then culminates into creation of the new American Cinema Group and Filmmakers Cooperative. Shirley has already the connection. I have Guns of the Trees, and Lionel Rogozin has on the Bowery, and come back Africa, and Emil D'Antonio is moving in. And now a Filmmakers Cooperative is created by about some 30 avant-garde underground filmmakers in January '62. Now, and here comes Shirley and Lionel Rogozin and Emil D'Antonio with their feature films. And they think, no, this is not exactly for us. We have other ambitions. There was this illusion in the air at that time that some of these films will be picked up by hundreds of theaters across the country. We cannot be in the cooperative. This is like for the avant-garde, underground, independence. We are somewhere else. We are somewhere else. And they did not stick with the Filmmakers Cooperative. Then in a year or two, they discovered nobody else really wanted them. They did not really fit that still Hollywood had the commercial cinema looked at what Rogozin was doing, what it was known as the New York Film School. What the New York Film School was doing, and that's the new thematic and new techniques and locations. They thought that people across the country, this is not for them. So nobody wanted to distribute these films, and they still had a dream, and did not. Then eventually, when they saw that Filmmakers Cooperative is doing well, all the other filmmakers are doing well, those who stuck together. Then 2 years later, Shirley and Rogozin and a few others met that maybe we should join, but under different name, like a branch of the Filmmakers Cooperative, Film Distribution Center. So, okay, do that way. They said, we have to promote now our films. But where is the money coming for the promotion? They spent money, which eventually I had to bail them out with my own money, which luckily I sold something for the television. I had $30,000. I had to bail them out. And I said, but that's it, closed. The center is closed. Because they were not interested really. So did not join the co-op, and then did not even want to sponsor their own distribution center. That was really the biggest failure of some of the filmmakers of the period that wanted to go into the narrative, more commercial cinema. If they would have stuck with the cooperative would have expanded. That's the reason. That's the reason.
Thank you. And
yes.
you know that.
Shirley.
So in any case, that's where I met. I think I met you downtown and then uptown in your house. We were all very closely knit together, and especially after the January '62, when Filmmakers Cooperative was created. Everybody was there, everybody. And on downtown was Maya Deren, and uptown was Shirley Clarke. Like two houses. Now I'm talking about Christmas parties. There was always two Christmas parties, one downtown, one uptown. Downtown was Maya Deren, uptown was Shirley Clarke. Downtown, very wild, improvisation, unpredictable crowd and party, and uptown, very quiet, very normal. Shirley's house was a rich kind of surrounding. Like it was not right to get wild. It was more narrative, and it became more narrative kind of cinema, filmmakers and documentary, more normal academic crowd that gathered at that other house.
What was it about Shirley that she's a woman and a filmmaker
and she approaches you who she doesn't know, and you don't know her, and she asks you to help her make a portrait of herself. Like, I'm just wondering, where do you think that came from?
Did she really approach you asking
Yes.
to make
The history of the relationship is this. I had a one-person show at the Collective for Living Cinema, and as I said in my introduction, unfortunately,
And our
I didn't
Facebook
know-
page. And Donna Cameron.
And Twitter.
And Twitter, yes, everything.
Thank
My
you,
dear
thank you. Thank you, everybody, also, for coming. So briefly, so we can watch the films. We're going to the program, which I wanted to show tonight, is the short Bridges Go Round, which is available through the co-op. It, like Sarah said, it's Shirley's finest, I think, short film. It was made in 1959, and she created it quite by accident. It was very serendipitous. After she made the Brussels loops, she had all these odds and ends about New York bridges. Her Brussels loops were shown in the World's Fair, and she was a very highly thought of filmmaker at that time. She had all these clips, and she put them together, and it became her pretty much iconic short. She's a fantastic colorist, and I first saw that film at Anthology Film Archives after I started working with her on the film Shirley Clarke and Our Time, which is also serendipitous in nature in terms of the creative process. It's a portrait, auto portrait. I was having one of my first one artist shows in New York at the Collective for Living Cinema, and Shirley came to my show with Lorraine Miller, who was her producer on Ornette Coleman, who was also a friend of mine. And they came in a little late, and Lorraine said, "Where should we sit?" And I said, "Well, here, next to me." And Shirley jokingly said, "Imagine that, what an honor, sitting next to the filmmaker." And I had no idea who she was, sad to say. I'm not trying to diss education or film education, but I had gone to two of the finest art schools in the country, Rhode Island School of Design and the Art Institute of Chicago, and in both places, no one mentioned Shirley Clarke. And when she asked me to work with me, because she liked my collaging, which is kind of like channel surfing, and finding things in garbage and very serendipitous. And well, when she asked me to work with her, of course I liked her immediately. She gave me her contact info, and I called her. I had a little baby boy at the time, and she absolutely loved him. So our first production meetings were in the Film Center coffee shop with a baby carriage. And my son Andy was like maybe 3 months old, and then 6 months old, and that's how we started working on Shirley Clarke in Our Time. She originally had wanted to perform with it. We worked on it for several years, and Uta Jensen wrote a beautiful essay about it, and it's on my website, which is www.donnacameron.info. The film basically is a portrait of Shirley using movies of her mother. Technologies are quite abundant, 4 different kinds of film, 6 different kinds of video. All were first edited on a Steenbeck, actually Sue Friedrich Steenbeck, and Millennium. And then they were brought into an Amiga Toaster U-matic video system and outputted onto a 1-inch tape. It was shown at MoMA, it was programmed in MoMA 2000. Very few people can project 1-inch video. But now, digitally remastered, on DVD, it has the capability of being distributed not just by MoMA, but also by the Filmmakers Co-op. And I'm sure Shirley would have been very happy about that. So without boring you any further, I'm going to sign out, and I'll be back, and Jonas Mekas will be back to talk about Shirley. And we have Andrew here, who also knew Shirley, so we hope that we will all join in dialogue, because everyone has a different kind of sense of all the different pieces that were Shirley.
What about her films today, and how are
What?
What about her legacy? Today. I know Anthology did a retrospective recently, but
what can I say? I mean,
or how are young
you
people
are
gonna
part
find
of
out
that.
about her?
You watch it. You know as much as I know. She is not very much known.
I don't know. Is there some of it on DVD? I know that
the Connection finally came on DVD this past summer. You see, like, the cool world nowadays.
I don't know now who this. You see, there was a producer involved.
Weissman.
So,
Weissman, right.
so Weissman and Bruce Allen. Yes.
He owns the rights.
Who?
Why is the producer?
So you should approach, say, put it in the co-op and that's it. Some of those people are just waiting, they don't know, they're too busy. Those ideas don't come into their head.
The Cool World was produced, as somebody noted, by Fred Wiseman, who has, it's not as if he's sort of forgotten. You should call him up and he'll remember and produce the film. He's been fairly uncooperative about publicizing.
Can you give me an example of his uncooperation? Like
Well, all right, I have never, be quite honest about this, I don't know Fred Wiseman, I've never spoken to Fred Wiseman. I know Shirley's
yeah, but you see,
opinion of
so
Fred
make a
Wiseman.
statement like that, I don't go for that. People are unpredictable.
Right.
He had problems with Shirley then. Now it's 40 years later. He's somewhere else. He's a different person.
Shirley's
it's
daughter
baloney.
has been in contact with him, and he has not been particularly cooperative or helpful in getting this film out.
He will be with
If he will be, that would be a wonderful thing, because
We're out there.
I-
Forward.
I wish I could be as positive, and maybe I will be if things do change. There are no decent prints. The prints that you showed at
We're
Anthology
changing it.
is a horrible print of that film.
Because Wiseman does not control the quality of the print.
No, but he does.
See,
He
it's the
owns
lab that controls.
He produced it, and he does own the film.
Yes, but
Okay.
the lab that
So-
produces a good print or a bad print. Wiseman is Wiseman.
On her own early work and its connection to the feature films she was making in the 60s. Where did that note come from? Do you know about its past?
You mean the notes on my early films?
Yeah.
Yeah, she had written that because someone was questioning how she could make the long films, which were her own version of cinema verite, which Jonas was just talking about, which are very significant, and at the same time be the author of these poetic, free, the Brussels loops, the bridges go round.
Oh yeah, that's another. The Brussels
And the
loops are
skyscraper.
another very important like a period of work for the Brussels World Fair. She was open to of possibilities. What
She seemed to me, from what I gathered studying at Anthology, her work, that she always came to the point where she pushed the boundaries of the tools. What you mentioned before with her video technology, she was more...
very much in superior positions and multiple monitors.
What sort of connections do y'all see between the two of them? Because on the surface they seem different, but they are very much Shirley's work. They're all part of her filmography.
Whatever she does, it's her work can be short and long, and no big discussion about that.
Why is this film different than that film? Because it is. Because the day I did it was different from the day I did the other thing. My needs as an artist, or what I'm speaking about, was different.
Yeah,
I was just curious why she would write
Sometimes
this
you
way
have little
responded.
time, or like the loops, special idea, like the different forms of cinema. You can do that, you can do that. Still, it's Shirley. One does not always want to do always the same and the same. Like when you eat, you don't always eat steak and steak. You sometimes want salad. The same in the life and work of a filmmaker. So there are no great philosophical whatever reasons. Down to earth, simple, down to earth reasons.
Any other final thoughts or questions for Connie?